Board challenge. Let's first of all review beginners. So the question we got on top of my head, and please let me know if this is not completely accurate. Was something like that. Function get average, right? num1, num2, and num3. So then this algorithm was essentially returning num1 plus num2 plus num3 divided by 3, right? Or something like that, right? Probably without even the semicolon. And without that, that's what we got, right? I mean, it's very obvious to detect that something is not quite correct, because if we literally write down the algorithm we have on the board at the beginning of the week, if we write it down in Chrome, you see, right? Unexpected end of input. Even though the error is a bit annoying, it's not giving us a lot of information about what's going on. If we pay a bit of attention, we'll notice that the function is never closing, right? So we don't have any closing curly bracket. I believe pretty much everybody has spotted that problem, which is a good thing. And now remember that to test this snippet, Natasha, we need to invoke the function, right? So get average 1, 2, 3, right? And then we can play around with different scenarios. So what will this snippet return at the moment? Four. Poppy is right. Returns 4. Is 4 the average of 1, 2, and 3? No. Clearly not. That doesn't make any sense, right? Why this is not correct? We need to sum first. That's correct. Remember, and this is about maths, not just about JavaScript. If you are adding and then you are dividing, the division runs first, right? So essentially, it will first try to divide number 3 by 3. Number 3 is, let's add a breakpoint. Number 3, can you tell me the order execution of the breakpoints?
1 plus 2.
What? 6? What? This was supposed to be just a dummy question, right? So what's the execution of what's the order? No. Guys, I just want 3. Thank you, guys. Yes. I don't know if it was Rich or Bala or I don't know who said that, but yes, that's correct. Of course, 3. It was just to prove if you were paying attention, right? So we run the example, runs number 3, and that's it, right?
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yep.
Initially,
Yep.
when did we get 4? Why did it return 4?
Why did it return 4? That's a good question, Richard. It returned 4 because the first thing that will happen, it will run the division first. So the very first thing will happen on that line is it will take number 3. What's number 3, Richard? Michael?
Line number 3?
Yeah. So what's the value of the variable num3?
3.
It's 3. Correct. Correct. That's correct. So then the first thing is it will divide 3 by 3. What's the result of dividing 3 by 3? 1. Correct. So it will do 1 plus number 2. What's number 2? 2. 2. So it will do 1 plus 2, which is 3. Correct. So 3 plus 1. 4. That's what the algorithm is doing, but we all agree that that's wrong, right? So you were suggesting that in order to add all the values first, we could simply add some parentheses, right? To change the order, the execution order. So now it will first of all calculate the total. Number 1 plus number 2 plus number 3. 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is 6, correct? 6 divided by 3 is 2, correct. So if we run the algorithm again, it gives us 2, which clearly is the correct average of 1, 2, and 3. Does it make sense? Anything else, guys? No? Are you sure?
Yes,
Semicolon, correct, correct. Even though the algorithm is correct, yes, if we don't want to get a penalty in the coding platform or in the wall, generally speaking, in the coding wall, just add a semicolon, right? If you add the semicolon, of course it will still work, and that's it, right? Of course, if you prefer, you can change the algorithm. You can create a variable called total equals num1 plus num2 plus num3, and then you can return what? Correct. That's correct, Daniel. Total divided by 3. That's the same thing, right? It's a different way to structure the function. Whatever works better with you. Any question? I do have a question. What happened? It's a bit off topic, but just to talk about JavaScript, generally speaking. What happens if I remove? No, let me change the question. What happens if I don't pass the third value? It's not a number. Why is it not a number? Is that correct, first of all? So yes, Mo is right. That returns not a number. What's that?
Because it's adding like blank space to the first number.
Yeah, so what's the value of num1? 1. What's the value of num2? 2. What's the value of num3? Undefined, correct. What's the result of adding 1 plus 2 plus undefined? Definitely not a number, correct. Did we watch the what talk? You don't know what I'm talking about right now. Okay, so I'll show you a video after this workshop. It's my favorite talk about JavaScript ever. Yeah, it's a very fun talk. The guy explains what happened when you add object plus array, array plus object, array plus undefined. It does weird operations, and it's the best JavaScript talk ever, under my point of view. So, but then, okay, that is not a number, because 1 plus 2 is 3, awesome, but then 3 plus undefined, that doesn't make sense, right? That doesn't really make sense. But now, look at what I'm doing. Ooh. Ooh. What's that?
You're defaulting the unsupplied argument.
Correct. This is a new thing in JavaScript. This is modern JavaScript. With modern JavaScript, we can initialize variables as arguments. So that means we'll do a workshop about that. So I'm not going to go very deep on that. But that means that if number 3 is not supplied, then the value will be 2. Correct, correct. Well, let's see both cases. So let me, instead of 2, well, okay, let's leave it 2. So what will this function return? Five divided by 3. What's 5 divided by 3? 1 point. Almost. But yeah, so Jonan is right. 1 point something, right? Why? Because now number 3 is the value is 2. So it will be 1 plus 2 equals 3 plus 2 equals 5. 5 divided by 3, 1 point something, right? But then what happens if I do pass a third argument now?
Should be averages 2.
Correct. So now, because num3 is actually provided, that won't apply. That will never run. So essentially number 3 will be 3. So then total will be 6, correct? 6 divided by 3 is 2. Yeah? Yeah, we'll talk, because that's the basic way you can initialize argument values in modern JavaScript. There are some tricks, some ways to, some corner cases that we'll be learning at some point, right? Okay, so this is pretty much regarding beginners. Is there any question? Anyone?
Just a general one on the approach to the board challenge.
Yep.
I incorrectly understood. My approach was to just think about the code
Yep.
in my head,
Yep.
not to run it in DevTools.
In the long term, if you go to a job interview, they will show you the board challenge, and you'll have to think about that in real time, right?
For us, it's okay.
For us, especially at the beginning, because the main reason at the moment I'm doing this is to help you to get familiar with DevTools.
It's reasonable for us to take that.
Of course, yes, of course, yeah, absolutely, yes, you should do that, yes. Yep.
If we're at a job interview, if it was for a junior developer,
Yep.
would it be the standard of the intermediate, beginner, expert? What standard do you think?
That depends on the company.
Okay.
Yeah, some companies, they won't even show you a piece of code. They will ask you to write some code. That depends, right? So the important thing is to get familiar of reading code and especially to talk about it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing right or wrong. They want to see how you express yourself, how you communicate. Yeah. Yeah, how you solve a problem. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Cool. So that was beginner. Let's do intermediate, which was a bit trickier. So intermediate was function get average. Please let me know if I do something wrong. We got a list of numbers. So then we return nums.reduce average num, and then here, so we did num. Sorry, no, it was average plus num divided by nums.length, I believe. Something like that, right?
Yeah, there was a typo.
Okay, so yeah, and then without the closing bracket. So this is what we got on the intermediate, and that's clearly wrong again, right? So why? The main thing here we should look after is parentheses. Let's make sure that every time we open a parenthesis and a curly bracket, it's closed. So for example, this one, is this parenthesis? Is this curly bracket correctly closed? Yes, it's here. Then we got another parenthesis. Is that correctly closed? Yes. Actually, I think we didn't even get that here. That's exactly what we got on the board challenge. Is that one correctly closed? Yes. But what happened with that one? Nothing. That's why indentation is so important, because I can easily see that whenever I start a function, I'm expecting somewhere to have a curly bracket closing the function. There is nothing in there, right? So that's why if I close it, now error is gone, right? So let's just invoke the function get average with some values, and let's see what happens. So if we run that, we got an error. Average is not defined. Why average is not defined? The problem we got now is clearly here. Correct. Remember that parentheses are optional if we have one single argument. In this particular case, how many arguments do we have? Two, correct. So we need to surround the expression with arguments, right? So let's run the example again. Undefined. So why undefined? Correct. So remember that we need to return something here, right? You could get rid of the curly brackets if you want. So we can do three things. First of all, option one, add a return statement. Option two, correct, replace the curly brackets with parentheses. That's also valid. Option three, put everything in one line. Right? Whatever you prefer. I'll just keep the return statement because of no particular reason. But again, just feel free to follow your favorite approach. So, after the return statement, what will this return?
Nothing.
What?
Now, yes.
Correct. That will return something weird, right? Not a number. What's that? Yes. So what is the highlighted text returning?
How many numbers in the item?
Are you sure?
No.
Yeah, correct. There's a typo. We agree there's a typo, but with the typo, at the moment, because of the typo. So what the highlighted expression returns? Undefined. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's already correct. I can type here North Korea. It will have the same effect. That property doesn't exist in JavaScript. Hopefully. So let's fix the typo. So now, before going any further, is there any elegance problem here? Semicolon. Where? Line 5. That's correct. That's correct. It's good that you got familiar with semicolons. You'll feel, I mean, at some point you'll be working with people more junior than you. You'll work with graduates and stuff like that, and you'll feel how annoying is their code because of.
Because you taught us to
It's not because I told you. It's because the huge community of JavaScript developers told you.
teach us, then we'd be flexible.
Yeah. Fair enough. Right, so then, will this work? What will this function return now? 4. Wrong. 2.6, of course. Why 2.6? Is 2.6 the average of 1, 2, and 3? No. Okay, let's figure out why. That's a bit weird, right? Because that looks...
You need brackets between average and num.
We need brackets between average and num. Okay. Like that, Jonan?
Yes.
Okay, let's try again. Wrong. It doesn't work neither.
The default is 0.
We need to put the default. So what Aisel is suggesting is to put a 0 here. So if we put a 0, she's right actually. Now it works. Why it works with 0, but this doesn't work without the 0?
Because the average would start with 0.
That's correct. Let's do something, guys. Let's put the 0 and let's add some breakpoints. Right. Execution order. Who wants to start?
8, 8,
3.
8, 3, 4, 4.
That's it? Wrong. And then Dave says 8, 3, 4, 4, 4. It runs 3 times, Aisel.
4. Sorry.
Yep. Right, so that okay, that's good.
3 numbers, yes.
There's 3 numbers, that's the reason. That's correct. So then, next question is, what's the first value in iteration number 1? We know that this function will run 3 times, right? So on iteration number 1, what's the first value of the average? 0. What's the first value of the number?
1.
Correct. On iteration 2, what's the first value of the average?
No, it's a result from the first iteration.
1 divided by 3.
1 divided by 3.
Number is
No.
Mm,
no. The 1 divided by 3, right? Yes. And the first one.
I like the way Aisel approached the problem. Jonan said 1 divided by 3. No. Yes, 1 divided by 3. It's 1/3, correct, Natasha, it's 1/3. Why 1/3? Because average is 0, right? Number is 1. Nums of the length is 3. 0 plus 1 divided by 3 is 1/3. So the first iteration returned 1/3.
So you can ask the question.
Yep, of course.
When it didn't work before,
Yep.
where did the 0 come from? Why have we stopped?
I'll show you. So this is the happy path. This is the example that works. And then I go back to the previous one, the one that doesn't work, and we'll analyze why. So returns 1/3. So on the second iteration, what's the average? 1/3. That's the most fundamental aspect using reduce. Whatever you return in one iteration will be the next average or accumulator or however you want to call that, the first argument, right? Average is 1/3, correct. What's the number?
2.
That's correct, guys. So what does that return?
1.
That returns 1. Why 1, Natasha?
Because 2 plus 1/3 is 3/3 equals 1.
That's correct. Natasha is fully correct. So what we got here is number is 2. 2 divided by 3 is 2/3. 2/3 plus 1/3 is 3/3.
A whole.
A whole.
1.
3/3 is
1.
1. Correct. That's correct. Iteration number 3. Average.
1.
1. Number.
Number is 3.
Number is 3. Return
4/3.
4/3.
3 divided by 3 is 1.
It's not 4/3.
1 plus 1 is
2. Was average is 1. So we'll be doing 1 plus 3.
2. 3 divided by 3
Correct.
is 1.
Correct.
1 plus 1 is 2.
Correct. So it's 1 plus 1. Remember, the division runs first,
Yes.
right? So we return 2. What happened on iteration number 4? There isn't. There isn't.
Average is 1, number is 3,
Yeah?
that's 4.
No, wrong, Natasha. Wrong. So Natasha's issue, she's thinking that we are adding first. That's incorrect. Because we have a division, we first divide, right? 3 divided by 3. Right? This is maths. It's not about JavaScript, it's about maths, right? So we divide 3 by 3, that gives us 1, okay? And then we say, okay, no problem. 1 plus the average, which is 1, because this is what we returned in the previous iteration. So essentially, returns 1 plus 1, we return 2. Because there is no fourth iteration, that's it, right? So we'll be, correct, so we'll be returning whatever the last iteration returns, which is 2. Is 2 the correct average of 1, 2, and 3? It is. That's why this algorithm works. But then, I'll go back to the original question. We know that it works fine with the comma 0, as some of you suggested. But if we remove the comma 0, now I'm asking again on the breakpoints. 8, 3, 4. 4. 2 4s. Right or wrong, guys? 1 more 4. 3 4s. 2 4s or 3 4s? 3 4s. Okay, so who is defending? Okay, let's play a battle here. So we got Daniel and Aisel saying 8, 3, 4, 4. Bala, you 2 or 3?
Yeah, the second one, yeah.
So Bala and Dave, 3. 2 or 3, guys? Anyone else? Same as who? 2 or 3 4s?
3.
So right, so Richard, 3 4s. Jeff is with Bala, Dave, and Rich. 3 4s. Who else? Natasha. Megan. Megan. Jonan. So Michael. Second. Mo. Poppy.
2 4s.
You get 1 point. Whoever the winning block is, you get 1 point, and you cannot change your opinion anymore. Huh? No. You cannot change. You should think about the answer before, right? That's the thing. I know. Too late. I mean, listen. Maybe you are right. No. Wait. I'm not opinionated at all. I'm just listening. So, right. Anyone else? Am I missing anyone? Anybody? Rafa, no, Poppy already is here, so Rafa. So much pressure, eh? It's okay. You listen. I think so. For example, what Michael did is very sensible. Don't feel afraid of saying I don't know the answer. That's honest. That's good. Instead of if you don't know, it's better to say I don't know than yeah. I'm following everybody, right? So okay. So Poppy's changing her mind. So Poppy can change her opinion, but nobody else. This is just because she participated on a workshop this week. Yes. Okay, yeah. So that's fine. That's fine. So it's fine if you want to explain, to defend why you decided, right? So Rafa, where are you, Rafa? Do you want to? It's fine. You don't have to. That's fine. Let's leave it here. So Aisel, why do you think you are right and pretty much everybody else, apart from Mo and Daniel, is wrong?
Because it's 0, so average will start with 1, and number would be 2, and a number would be 2, and the length will be 3, and then again when the second iteration would be, so average would be the number that we'll get, and the number will be 3, and then we will divide it by the length, and then the number will be the answer.
Okay. Yeah. So she's technically speaking right. So Daniel and Aisel and Mo, you are right. So you get 1 point on the board challenge. Why? That's interesting, right? We have 3 elements on the array. So generally speaking, when we do map for each, reduce with the default value, filter, find, not find, the filter, it runs the callback function, that condition runs as many times as element the array has. That's what we've learned. But this is an exception. If we don't have any default value, what's the very first value of the average?
1.
That's correct. That's how reduce works. If we don't pass any default value, the average will be the first element of the array. That means, as a side effect, what's the first value of the number? 2. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. So you've seen that we are stripping one iteration, right? Because the first value of the number is 2. Right? Let's put the classic iteration diagram. Iteration 1. So, average.
1,
Correct. Num.
2,
2. Return.
2 divided by 3.
2 divided by 3 is
2 divided by 3 plus 1. Dave is correct. Right? Average is 1. Num is 2. Length is 3. 1 plus 2/3.
Can you explain why num is
But what?
Can you explain why num is 2?
Yes, because if we don't provide any default value, we always need a default value. So if we don't explicitly set the default value, what's the default value? Reduce will say, because you are a lazy developer and you didn't tell me what's the default value, I'll take the first element of the array as the default value. Because the default value is 1, the number that generally speaking is the first element, now is not the first element anymore, now it's the second. Right? That's the reason. So then, first iteration will return 1 plus 2/3, which is 5/3, right? Because 1 is 3/3, 3/3 plus 2/3 is 5/3. Then, iteration 2. What's the average?
5/3.
Correct, 5/3. What's the number? Correct. What it does return?
So 3 divided by 3
Which is 1. So it's 5/3 plus 3/3, which is 8/3. 8/3. What's the result of dividing 8 by 3? Correct. 8 divided by 3 is 2.6. If we run this algorithm, it returns exactly the same. So that is correct. Let's add some breakpoints. Line number 8, easy. Line number 3, number 4. Look at the average, Megan. You see, average is 1. It points to the first element of the array. And because average is 1, so we're moving one position to the right. We are stripping one iteration from the loop journey. Number is 2. If we play again, number will be 5/3, which is 1.6, maybe something like that. Yes, 1.6. Number will be 3, right? What happened on the third iteration? Correct, we don't have third iteration. Remember, we are removing one iteration from the loop. So that's it. It will never stop anywhere else. That's it. That will return 2.6. In other words, the default value is sometimes relevant, sometimes. In this particular case, we can clearly see that it changes the algorithm. So in that case, it's mandatory to have a default value. But that's not always the case. Depending on what we do on the reduce, we can skip the default value or not. For example, let's create a new function to calculate the total. Instead of get average, get total, right? So I'm going to try to respect as much as possible the existing algorithm. So I don't want to divide by anything, right? That's the way you calculate the total. You add all the values. So what will this return?
It will return the total.
What's the total?
6.
Undefined. Why undefined? No. I didn't say that undefined was correct. Someone mentioned undefined.
Ricardo, when
Yeah.
you calculate total, I don't think you need to put 0.
Well, we'll see. We'll see in a minute. We'll see if in this case the default value is necessary or not. So that will return.
You don't need to remove the 0 as well, Ricardo.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so that will work regardless of the default value. Why? How many? Tell me again, guys. Breakpoints.
It's 8, 3, 4, 4.
8, 3, 4, 4.
Yeah. Same as before.
There's 3 fours.
No, without the 0, I mean.
No, but now at the moment with the 0.
With the 0, it's 3 fours.
Correct. We know that already, right? 3 fours because with the 0 it will run 3 iterations, right? So in that particular case, what's the iteration 1? What's average? First average? 0. 0 or 1? 0. Because we put 0 here. If we put here minus 38, the first average will be minus 38. We put 0, right? Correct. So what's the number? 1. Correct. Return? 1. Easy, right? Iteration number 2. Average? Correct. Num? 2. Return? 3. Iteration 3. Average?
3.
Correct.
Number is 3 and return
6.
Correct. That's probably the easiest example using reduce, right? That works fine. So if we run this snippet, that will return 6. Oh, wait a minute. No. Wait. Wait.
That's not undefined because you didn't change
Yeah,
the
it didn't change.
It didn't
indication.
change. Oh, sorry. I renamed the function. Sorry, that's my fault. Right. I renamed the function. Right. So now, interestingly, Chrome is ignoring me. Get total nums reduce. Oh. Right. It's not displaying anything. Wait a minute. I'm not sure if this is a genuine issue. That should work, right? Let's simplify. Whenever something wrong happens, let's simplify. You see, it's not displaying anything, right? So whenever that happens, sometimes Chrome goes crazy, and the way to prove Chrome is crazy is simply create a new snippet, paste the same content, and now, if it works, it doesn't work, guys. Am I missing something stupid?
I think it's just Chrome.
Okay, just Chrome. So that, then let me try to do something.
Just click on the pause, let it run the whole thing.
Yeah, but it doesn't return anything. Look. That's weird, right?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Try to remove the tag.
Try to remove the.
Or just reload the page.
Just reload the page. No, I'm doing all these things. Yeah, that's like sometimes. Right. Let's ignore that because the thing is, if I kill Chrome, it will stop the Hangout session. I don't want to do that, right? So at the moment, you can just trust me.
A new Chrome window, I think, should do it.
A new Chrome window. Let me open an incognito window, and let me. Okay, let's see if it works with an incognito window. Should work, guys. Yes, it does work. Thank you. Yes. This is still bullshit, right? I want to do that all the time. Anyway, yeah, that works. So thank you for the hint. So yes, that returns 6, as we already know. But what happened if we relate the default value? Was iteration 1? What's the average? 8.
Iteration 1 will be 1.
1.
Yeah.
Correct. What's the number? First one. 2. Correct.
Yeah.
Return? 3. Correct.
3.
Iteration 2. Average? 3. Correct. Number?
3.
3. Correct. Return?
6.
6. Correct. Iteration 3. Average?
No iteration.
There is no iteration 3. Correct. Because we don't have any default value. So, the question here is, does it matter in that case if we put a default value? No. So,
Well, it does, as long as we put 0.
yeah, of course. If we put 1, what will this return, guys? That will return 7, right? Because default value is 1. What will that return? 8.
8.
What will that return? 4, correct, right? So obviously it depends on the default value. But apart from this exotic example, if we put 0, it's the same as dropping nothing, right? So in that particular aspect, there is no difference. But in other cases, like to calculate the average, it will make a difference, right? So,
Is it a good practice to have
sorry, Bala, could you please mute yourself, if you don't mind? We hear some background noise. Thank you. Say it again?
Yeah, so I was just wondering if is it a good practice to use zero there just for consistency?
It depends. Again, if you want to calculate the total, I don't mind. I know that works, so I leave it like that. If you want to do something different, it depends. To be honest, the majority, 95% of the time, you'll need to put a default. You'll know that on the expert training that you'll be joining at some point, you'll be doing reduce all the time. And most of the cases, instead of playing with numbers, we'll be playing with objects or with arrays, with more complex data structures, right? So we'll need to initialize yeah. Cool. Anything else, guys? No?
So this is something I was discussing with Noah yesterday. I mean, rather than dividing in each iteration, why can't we just divide at the end? You know, so in this case, just put the division at the other.
Yeah, I mean, of course. Yeah, of
so
course.
that it does two things, I think. One, obviously, it fits with the general definition of average, sum divided by the total, the numbers, and also we're only dividing once in terms of computation. It's only dividing once rather than 3 times.
That's fine. Yeah, I agree on that, Bala. So essentially, what Bala is suggesting that to get the average, instead of dividing here, right? That's what we originally proposed. So that should return true, correct? So what he proposes, first of all, get the total, and finally, afterwards, divide it by nums.length, right?
Yeah.
And that still works. And now we can even get rid of the 0. Yeah, of course, that's absolutely valid. And as you mentioned, that is probably even more efficient. The only reason why I wanted to do that inline is to show you that sometimes the default value does matter, right? Cool? Yeah, cool. Thank you, guys. Anything else? No? Anything else, Bala, Rich?
That's about from me. Thank you.
No? Okay, so that was it for today's. Thank you, guys. Cheers.